Should the Seattle Seahawks give Trey Brown a second chance and bring him back on a new contract? What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Before we get into this video, one quick thing that I want to talk about regarding the content that is coming up on this channel. I will not be streaming with the Hawks Nest today. We are moving that stream to tomorrow. We are going to be doing the Hawks Nest show, or the B&B show if you prefer, whatever you want to call it, Talking Seahawks with the Hawks Nest, the B&B show, whatever. We're doing it tomorrow. Should be the usual time at noon, and the stream placeholders should already be up or be going up very soon here. So if you have any confusion there, you'll see that go up very quickly. But yeah, we're not streaming today. We've decided to bump it back a little bit so we can be ready for the Clint Kubiak discussion now that we know he's here. So we're going to have a lot to say about the new offense under Mr. Kubiak, but that will be held off until tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to talk about Trey Brown today. We're going to talk a little bit about whether or not it makes sense to bring Trey Brown back on a new contract. Does it make any sense to give Trey Brown another chance after he, to be perfectly honest, fumbled the bag in 2024? There's no other way to put it. Trey Brown was headed in the right direction, and then 2024 was a massive disappointment. I don't know how else I can put it other than that, and I hate to be so, negative about it, but there's no other way to discuss this one. Trey Brown, we drafted him in the 4th round in 2021. He showed good positive signs in 2021. He looked good for a little bit. Then he suffered a devastating injury, missed the rest of the season, basically missed the entirety of the next season, barely played. And then 2023, he came back, started about half the season, and played well. He looked good. It looked like he was coming into his own. Pro Football Focus even gave him an above-average grade for a cornerback, barely above average, but above average. They gave him good marks in every major category they rank cornerbacks in. It looked like we were headed towards something good. And then the Seahawks brought in Mike Macdonald, and Trey Brown, with his skill set, is the kind of cornerback who should do very well with a coach like a Mike Macdonald, with the defense he was bringing in. Everything seemed lined up for Trey Brown to have a good year and then get paid some non-trivial dollars in the 2025 offseason as a free agent. And 2024, it didn't happen. He was mostly healthy. He played in most of the games. He started a few games, but he just wasn't very good. He just wasn't very effective. Pro Football Focus downgraded him heavily. They thought his coverage was bad in particular, but his overall grade was not very good, and he was basically put on ice for most of the season. I think the thing that really stands out about Trey Brown's 2024 was the Giants game. He was a big reason why that game got away from the Seahawks on defense. He was a big reason why the team played as poorly as they did in that game, and that's a game that sticks in a lot of people's minds as the main reason why this team didn't make the postseason. And that may very well be true. But it was a very disappointing year, and it has drastically hurt whatever money he can hope or expect to get in 2025. He will be lucky to even get any kind of a contract at all right now. This could easily end up being a guy who is on the couch waiting when the season starts, hoping that somebody signs him when somebody gets hurt. Because it's not like this guy has great draft pedigree. It's not like he was that good in 2023. He was fine. He got the job done. He did good things. I was encouraged, but he wasn't setting the world on fire. So what is he going to get paid, really? We're going to explore that a little bit in this video. First, please like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, click the bell for notifications, become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. So let's take a look at cornerback contracts, and obviously we're going to be nowhere near the top with a guy like Trey Brown. Trey Brown doesn't deserve anywhere near what any of these top guys make. So we're going to scroll for a minute. We're going to scroll through, looking at all cornerbacks sorted by average annual value. We're going to keep on going, and we're going to stop somewhere around 40, the 40th ranked corner by average annual value. Let's start with Dane Jackson, who signed a 2-year, $8.5 million deal with Carolina last off season. So 27 years old when he signed that contract, same age as Trey Brown now. And it's actually not a terrible comparison. Dane Jackson spent 4 years with Buffalo, was mostly just a part-time starter, part-time player, gave you a decent amount. Remember, he was starting a lot of games in 2022, and there were positive signs for sure, right? It's kind of similar because then he leaves after his rookie deal is up and goes to Carolina. You look at his Pro Football Focus grades 2022, which was kind of his big breakout year in terms of playing time. He started almost every game that year, 57. It's okay. And then the next year it goes up. It goes the right way. It goes up to 64. Some areas they think he's very bad, but overall they think he's a pretty decent player, not like Trey Brown. So maybe Dane Jackson is what Trey Brown would have been if Trey Brown had gone the right way in 2024. He didn't. He went the wrong way. So definitely not there yet. Dane Jackson played a little too good for this comp. I know that there are some parallels you can draw, but overall, we're not there yet. Let's keep going. So we get past Dane Jackson. Let's look at somebody, and a lot of these guys, by the way, guys on their rookie deal. Mike Hughes. Let's take a look at Mike Hughes of the Atlanta Falcons. 2 off seasons ago, signed a 2-year, $7 million deal at 26 years old. So Mike Hughes, by the way, former first-round pick. So if there's any pedigree left here, that's going to be a factor as well. But you can see that he spent 3 years at Minnesota, was a disappointment, didn't really work out, didn't really do a lot. Played some, but not a ton. Spent 1 year in Kansas City, spent 1 year in Detroit, and based off those 2 years, really, he got paid a little bit of money by Atlanta. And he's been a fairly reliable part of that secondary in Atlanta for a while now. Well, for the duration of the contract, he actually started 15 games this year. But Mike Hughes, let's take a look at PFF. They loved his 2021. They thought he was great. They gave him really high marks, almost an 80 PFF grade. Now, he regressed pretty heavily in 2022 after switching teams, but he was still considered a pretty decent cornerback, better than Trey Brown, so it makes sense that he would get paid a pretty decent amount going into the 2023 offseason. He had proven that he was viable in a way that Trey Brown just couldn't quite do, so we're not there yet either. So Mike Hughes, we're going to go on past him, and if you go past Mike Hughes, the next name I want to stop at would be Kristian Fulton of the Chargers. Now we're down to more 1-year deals. We're in 1-year deal territory. 1 year, 3.1 million approximately with the Chargers when he was 25 last offseason. So Kristian Fulton, second round pick used to be, by the way. He was former second round pick, so the pedigree here is no joke. And it's kind of like Trey Brown, but look at how much more he played than Trey Brown. 13 starts, 11 starts, 11 starts. Last 3 years in Tennessee. 14 passes defended in 2021, which I know was kind of a distant memory by the time he was a free agent, but still, that's more than Trey Brown's ever done, and it's not even close. So then he leaves, goes to the Chargers, and becomes a pretty much full-time starter for them as well, by the way, so he ended up working out pretty decently for them. Pro Football Focus says he was slightly above average in 2022, and then regressed heavily in 2023, so it's a decent comparison, right? That's kind of what Trey Brown did. But I still think the body of work and the volume of work is not equivalent. So we're getting there, but I don't think we're there yet. Kristian Fulton, we got to keep going past Kristian Fulton. So let's check out Isaiah Oliver. 1 year, $2.5 million. So now we're getting closer to like the vet min type territory. Isaiah Oliver, 27 years old, gets a 1 year, $2.5 million deal with the Jets last offseason. And what are we talking about with Isaiah Oliver? Former second round pick, so there might be a little bit of pedigree here. Spent 5 years with the Falcons, then 1 year with the Niners before going over to the Jets. So you can see that his play in the NFL was fairly sporadic. Not super productive, but he's out there. He's fighting. He's grinding. Part-time starter for the Niners last year. Started a little bit for the Falcons the year prior. So it's a little Trey Brownish. Pro Football Focus, for whatever it's worth, thought he was great in 2022, almost in 78. They really liked him. And then the next year it regressed a little bit, but he's still well above average, 67.6. So I don't think we're there yet either. I don't think we've hit on the mark where we can say, hey, Trey Brown has some kind of a overall equivalency here. So let's keep going. We're going past Isaiah Oliver, and we're checking out Corey Ballentine. Corey Ballentine with the Packers last offseason, 1 year, $2.1 million. So Corey Ballentine, former 6th round pick. So him and Trey Brown are both day 3 picks. Trey Brown was drafted a little higher, but neither has really any draft pedigree to speak of. And you're looking at this, what he did leading up to getting that 1 year deal. It's a little Trey Brown-like. He did kind of have a little bit of a breakout year in 2023, 43 tackles and a pick in 6 starts, which was as many games as he had started his entire career before 2023. So, okay, maybe there's a little bit of an equivalency we can draw here. We're working on it. We're getting somewhere. He barely played before 2023, by the way, so not bad. Pro Football Focus hated his 2022. Not that he played very much, so I wouldn't read anything into that. And then they thought he was passable-ish in 2023. So, barking up the right tree here. We're in range. But at least Corey Ballentine had his breakout year, quote-unquote, before getting that contract. You can't say that about Trey Brown. He had his break-in season or something. He went the wrong way. So I want to keep going. I want to see what else we can find here. I want to get to Avante Maddox of the Eagles. 28 years old last offseason, 1 year, $2 million. This might do a little bit better. And I think this is probably about where it is. Maddox, former 4th round pick, like Trey Brown. Played his whole career in Philadelphia. You can see that there were some seasons where he started a fair few games, but by the end of his most recent contract before this one, he had basically been reduced down to very, very minimal opportunities, and he was just looked at as a pure depth guy. You can see that he does have a good amount of experience, but by 2023, he was barely playing at all. 2022, they did grade him out fairly well. They liked him a lot, 71.3. The next year, though, when he didn't play that much, 50.6, so heavy regression. The Eagles clearly moved on, and they just view him now as a depth piece, and he's perfectly fine in that role. He played in all 17 games this last year. He just doesn't really get on the field that much. This is probably about where you can start talking. So 1 year, $2 million, 1 year, $2.1 million. I think we're basically in that territory with Trey Brown. Somebody's going to be intrigued by his skill set. Somebody's going to be intrigued by what he did in 2023. But generally speaking, I don't think you can go any higher than that unless there's just something there that you see that nobody else does. So in terms of just comparing him to the market, 1 year, $2 million, 1 year, $2.1 million would be about where I go. And honestly, when you're at that level as a player, you can slip through the cracks like nobody's business. It's kind of like the guy we talked about yesterday, Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace technically might be in line for something like 1 year, 1.5. But when you're that level of a player to where there's nothing special about you, you can easily just slip through the cracks and end up with a veteran minimum deal if you're lucky. So I think the same of Trey Brown. He's a guy who I think if you compare him to other players in a similar position deserves about 1 year, $2 million. Wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being 1 year vet min, which is going to be for him, what, like 1.1 million? And maybe not even that. Like Trey Browns right now in the NFL are a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. Now, would I offer Trey Brown 1 year, $2 million? I don't think so. Maybe I do it if I trade Reek Woolen just so I can have another corner in here that isn't completely unprepared. Maybe then it would be okay, but that would be about it for me. And if I don't trade Woolen, I'm definitely not doing it. Would I do veteran minimum for him if we trade Woolen? Yeah, I think at that point you're kind of obligated to do it. But if you go up to like 2 million, I'm still a little bit wondering, why was he so lackluster in what was supposed to be his contract year? What happened in 2024? All right, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.